Hi, we're Oxygen Conservation, and this is the Shoe Room Sessions. Hi Emma, welcome to the Shoe Room Sessions. I am so excited to have you here. You were on my wish list of people we could bring in and talk to who were doing super cool stuff in the environmental space, so thank you for finding the time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Can you say who you are and what you do?
Yes. So I'm the founder of Earth Minutes, and we are essentially specialising in environmental communications. We're a young collective of environmental researchers and creatives, and our mission is to drive the future of environmental thinking and learning. And what we mean by that is that we really want to communicate environmental research more effectively, not only to reach more people, but through making it more accessible, so physically and financially, and also making it more sustainable. How can we share these messages in a fundamentally sustainable way? So we do an array of different kind of communication sectors and spaces, and we wear many hats and got a lot of work to do.
The timing couldn't, we need you so much now. The timing is absolutely there. But take me back to the start. What was it that first hooked you on the environment and sustainability as even a thing? Where did that connection come from?
Oh, that's a great question. And I've actually been reflecting on it loads recently, because in order to make sure that the environment relates to other people, you have to understand why it relates to you and why you're connected to it yourself. Yeah. And so I've grown up in Devon, so I've been very privileged to have nature just completely around me throughout my life. And I've naturally studied the environment through geography, etc., going through that path throughout my educational career. But it wasn't until after school and basically exploring what was my role in this. Now that I've got all this learning, I can't unlearn it. What do I do? The panic almost. And so I went down to my local community around Exeter, and there was loads of different kind of plastic-free communities and surface against sewage work. So I went directly through them and joined them straight away. And not only did I have a community to learn more from and grow with, and I just felt like there was so many ideas and there was so much change that I was experiencing and what they were achieving, that it was just really empowering. But I really learned very quickly the kind of role of the individual as well as the collective, and how you can find, where your role is in this, how you can make a difference yourself. And from there, I just started to explore more communities, working with more people, finding, more topics to challenge, more opportunities with that as well. And it just, from there, went to uni and it evolved.
Nice. You, for me, it was whitewater kayaking. So as a kid, throwing myself off waterfalls. So I've always learned and understood the environment from rivers first.
Okay.
That's kind of like the arteries of what happens in the environment. Can you pinpoint that early thing as a child? What was the fun, the activity, the time out in the environment where you were like, this is me?
Yeah, well, mine's very similar because I went surfing. So with Surf Against Sewage, that was like a common connection between everybody. The surfers actually founded the charity itself. And so surfing for me, although I was based in South Devon, so I had to travel for surfing, that was the major connection to the ocean of why do I feel so free and so more creative, I guess. After being in nature, I kind of started questioning why that was having an impact on me, and it just got completely drawn to it. And I think that there is a saying about how you must understand your local environment in order to unlock your own potential as a change maker. And I have not only experienced it, but any kind of advice I give to anybody is always just please try and connect to your local environment first, because it just unlocks so many understandings and doors for how you can kind of learn with nature and also support it as well.
Our head of storytelling, Al's got this amazing sort of line of questioning and thought where you have to connect people with the environment for them to love, understand and protect it. And it's one of the balances we have. So across all the estates, you have some really precious environments, and how do we encourage more people to enjoy them and access them, but also protect them, because too many people does too much damage. So it's always a really fine line we try and do there. You mentioned Surfers Against Sewage. So I first happened across them when Hugo Tagholm was running the place, and the thing that they did differently to me was they were the first people that made the environment and campaigning for the environment cool.
Yeah, totally.
Is that what?
Totally, yeah. I think also what I found really interesting with their work is that they were super inclusive. There was loads of non-surfers that were there that really cared about kayaking or just rivers more so than the ocean. And it was how you can kind of connect it all and join forces in that sense. And yeah, they're definitely a really cool charity, and their evolution has been amazing actually in terms of how they've grown. I still work with them really closely now. And my relationship changed with them because I moved away from the Southwest and went to London. So I experienced...
Was that for uni?
For work. So that was after uni. And what was really interesting is I kind of gauged different experiences in communities and schools of their view of the ocean and their disconnection, down to kind of many reasons, but mainly from the inaccessibility of resources. It completely wasn't their fault for feeling disconnected. And I posed that challenge to Surfers Against Sewage, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to run these talks and these campaigns with communities that there's missing the first step. So they're always up for the challenge, and we created loads of different resources, and we created Digital Ocean School recently, which really explores how we can make the ocean more accessible to more people. But what I love about them is because they are just so open-minded, and inclusivity is first. They want everybody to protect the ocean and become ocean activists and empower people to become ocean activists.
I think it's the first time I saw that word used like widely in a way that wasn't sort of frowned upon but encouraged. Have you ever met John Koo, who's one of their trustees?
Yes.
A really amazing guy. Shout out to John.
Yeah.
Amazing. My one of my maddest moments in doing this was we went to an event hosted by Surfers Against Sewage in Finisterre at their place, and me and John played Jenga with our now king using a reclaimed ocean plastic Jenga set.
That's so cool.
Like, ridiculous story there.
Yeah.
So you hit upon a bit of your sort of career path. Can you take us from school to uni to where you are now?
Yeah, so after, I guess, the kind of the journey of school and then getting involved with Surfers Against Sewage as my first kind of movement, I guess, environmental movement, I then continued to uni for driving different kind of environmental research areas. And I went straight out of uni specialising in soil science.
Where were you at uni?
At Durham University,
Durham,
so
okay.
up north. And
Cold surfing up there, right? Scarborough?
Yeah, I did not.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. So I'm from not too far, a bit further down, so from the northeast, but like East Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So went kayak surfing at Cairn Bay in Scarborough. I haven't thought about that place for like 10 years. It's cold.
Can't imagine it. I get cold in the southwest, so didn't even worry about it. But it was really interesting leaving uni and specialising in a science. So soil science was my main interest, mainly because it was so niche. There was such a lack of research. That I wanted to kind of explore and innovate in kind of new areas of thinking and research. But just directly through that industry, I just got chucked loads of challenges. I learned very, very quickly around the importance of soil, and I studied the soil carbon and climate change connection. So it was one of the solutions to climate change. It was this massive, huge, important piece of research. And the scientists I were working with just weren't communicating it. They weren't sharing it. And I thought it was really interesting because, why discover research and discover science if you're not going to share it? It kind of just seems...
Was it intentionally protectionist, or do you think they didn't know how to?
Yeah, I think they didn't know how to. I think it was definitely an accessibility issue. So a lot of the time it came from how we're going to communicate this more effectively. Obviously, research articles is the main route of communication. But then also not knowing, which forms of communication to use with social media, film, there's so many different areas. And then down to the price as well. As soon as people considered or thought of production, they'd be like, oh no, we don't have budgets for that. We're in the science sector, we're in the charity sector, we can't afford that straight away. It would never be something that they explored. And so I immediately wanted to address that, and I started building Earth Minutes directly off the back of that to bridge that gap, because I thought there must be a simpler way to just connect the organisations that need these communication methods, which will not only amplify their work, but also that the public will care, but they just need to be provided with the information. It's just how do we share it effectively, and even in terms of how we share it, going down to like Surfers Against Sewage, making ocean science cool, and the way that they brand themselves. That's such a fundamental part of their storytelling that scientific organisations and institutions want help with. So directly from there, I started building Earth Minutes, and that was in 2020. And now we're here. Now I've kind of evolved it. constantly new communication methods, new challenges, new, in terms of new topics to address, and as well as new projects, more people to reach. So it's been very exciting.
One of my frustrations with the environment sector has been, outside of surfacing and sewerage and you guys and startups that are coming now, but over the last 10 years, the imagery, the presentation of the environment sector has been targeted at the retiree trying to plant one tree on a Sunday, which is, please keep doing that, we need you to do it. But it's a barrier to encouraging other people to get in. People want to run to, and it's why Surfacing and Sewerage did the cool thing. It's why Patagonia and Vivo Barefoot, companies who are making it aspirational and inspirational to get involved in the environment sector. And I think that's the thing that's changing now. And that's what we're really trying to do. It's why we've invested heavily in high quality photography and videography. Shout out to Josh behind the camera, to really make the environment shine. So who are some of the companies that inspire you and you like what they do?
Oh my gosh, there's just so many. So many. I think I totally agree also with how do we make the environment shine? How do we make it something desirable?
With all our print stuff, we keep everything black and white except the environment, because we're not bringing the colour, the environment is. And in the environmental space, that's completely different, because most people is a child's picture of a tree, and it's either aimed very old or very young. So the fact we wanted to try and make it a little bit more cool and aspirational was what we were shooting for.
I think what's also important is that it can't be an interest, because throughout I guess going through the kind of education system of being boxed in geography, and it being climate change is a geographer's problem, it causes so many problems that I see now in the work world, where people actually don't think they're interested in the environment because they haven't, they don't know too much. They don't feel like they're an expert. They, they haven't got much of an understanding because they didn't do geography, or they don't think they're interested. Which is, I think, the root problem to making the environment cool or anything, because it fundamentally isn't an interest. It relates to everybody. We completely need to unpick that and make sure that everyone knows that it relates, that we all live in an environment. Making it cool then just makes it relatable, especially topics that are hard to connect to, like sewage and soil sometimes as well, where just think, how is this affecting me in the day-to-day? I live in the city, I don't need soil. So it's how do you connect the dots?
I've heard that exact line. Kind of do. You kind of do. So as one of those trend-setting out there founders in the environmental space, what does it feel like right now? So you had this vision, you saw the opportunity early, and we're pushing that movement forward. We're now 2023, the climate is falling apart behind us. Our government aren't coming to help us in any way, shape or form. How does it feel for you as a founder sat here today?
I think right now, just down to the kind of chaotic lack of stability around in the government, in policies, I feel just completely outraged. I don't think there's another kind of feeling to express in that. I do feel optimism, but that's purely with the people I work with, because I work with so many different sectors, from the Natural History Museum to the Eden Project, who are highlighting youth voices, are highlighting these problems front and centre, are also really open to our ideas. There's challenges that we want to tackle, whether it's trying to make ocean science more accessible to more people. There's so much support from so many organisations and communities and groups, and there is just so much action going on at the local level that it's just completely empowering. But I think the overwhelming feeling of it being near to COP28, it's currently New York Climate Week, and with our government's decisions as well, I think outrage is the only feeling that I can express, because it doesn't even feel, it doesn't feel demotivating. I just feel let down and in fury. Yeah,
I'm completely pissed off with our government. I'm also going to steal outrage and optimistic if I can, because I think it's an awesome title for a piece.
Podcast. And
is there? Oh, I can't use that then.
Well, there's Christiana Figueres. They founded Outrage and Optimism with her team, and it talks about that perfect balance of why you need outrage with optimism. You can't just have blind optimism and talk about hope. You absolutely need outrage to fire and push.
There was a great so Julia Davis, who's trying to push forward with we have the Power Movement investing in loads of startups and environmental initiatives. She's awesome. She had a LinkedIn post in the last couple of days about some of the things the government are doing. And one of the comments on the bottom of it was, hope comes from action, not the other way around. And I think that's so true. So I have a bit of a quandary with some things like this. So I'd like your advice. So we were asked to go out to New York Climate Week, and I couldn't square the circle of getting on a plane to go talk about climate. Was that the right decision, or should I have gone? How would you have?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the exact same problem at the moment with COP28, as well as New York Climate Week. We work with loads and loads of youth activists who have many messages to tell, and they want to share their experiences with global leaders, and they have, really important key messages to share in general. And a lot of them don't want to go to COP28 because they don't want to travel. They don't see the sense in it. They're in the UK. And we're trying to work out how we can get, what's the most powerful way and most impactful way to get voices in the right places that are fundamentally missing. Whilst for ourselves, we felt like we were the coordinators of that. And we felt actually our role in this wouldn't be to go to New York Climate Week ourselves and share this. It would be to bring and to support the young voices, or the voices that we felt were missing in those spaces, to those spaces. So I think making a decision to not go can be really impactful. We are actually, even with our view of COP28, we're trying to do things in the UK and make the most of the impact here, because there's still such a lack of conversation here. So our event coming up at the Eden Project next weekend, that's purely because we want to support the people that need to go to COP28 to share their experiences or key messages. And we feel that we can hold down the fort, I guess, here in the UK, and make the noise and keep up the pressure here to then to have our impact. But I think measuring your impact and working out where your role in it is important, rather than just feeling important yourself and going. I think it's taking that kind of ego out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's such a conflict, because I do believe the world's changed by the people who do things and turn up. But the level of hypocrisy I would feel going, I was just like, I can't feel like an absolute hypocrite. You mentioned the date of the Eden event you got. So what's that event called?
So that is the Extreme Hangout in partnership with the Eden Project. And Extreme Hangout is who we're partnering with. They are from Extreme International, which is a huge sports brand. And they essentially want to get the voices that are missing in those spaces, like I said earlier, into COPs. So sports people, young people, Indigenous peoples. And it's how we can celebrate that as well, celebrate culture, different experiences. And with this particular event, we're celebrating youth voices. And that's mainly because I think there's such a huge problem at the moment where so many people recognise that youth are at the forefront. And there's this feeling of, your future is doomed. Like, what are you going to do about it? You're going to have to lead on this. What are you going to do? And it's completely overwhelming. So it's how we wanted to kind of create this network, including all of our partners, like the Natural History Museum, Finisterre, etc. So many different brands and people that we work with across the country to come together to support youth, to platform youth voices, but to talk about youth leadership, climate anxiety, and why it's important that nature is for all. So the fundamental inclusivity part of it too.
So if this goes out after that event, is there a website people will be able to go back and see stuff that was?
Absolutely, yeah. And I can definitely throw it your way. There's we'll have a few videos, and all of the messages from that particular event will be with the Children and Youth Pavilion for COP28. So all of those key messages will be recorded and amplified through that website as well.
Nice. That same sort of conflict was something we faced. We were kindly nominated for various awards, including Team of the Year at this big environmental award ceremony, which reluctantly we agreed to go to. And we were all just sat there in absolute horror about the just consumption of waste that was there. So made a commitment that if we're ever nominated for an award again, we'll politely decline going, walk up a hill, have a picnic together, and send a picture of us all on a hillside, because it's just, we've got to change every part. Everyone wants a just transition, but no one's prepared to let anything change. Yeah. And that's the difficulty. We can't keep living the way we currently are.
Totally. And I think that's the major problem I'm facing at the moment, because even trying to work out, which are the right opportunities to take, like those awards and things, recognition's great. to grow. And
You want to amplify it and inspire other people to get involved, and you want the next generation of talent to come and want to work with you and all those things.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, and it's completely like it has that kind of corporate business undertone. And there was an event I went to for London Climate Week in June called Reset Connect. They were a great team and they had a huge vision to kind of bring in different brand voices. But again, it had the same problem of it being very egotistical in the sense that everyone wanted to showcase what they were doing, their solutions. And nobody was comfortable enough to talk about the challenges they're facing, how difficult it is to be a business to make profit when the margins are tighter as a sustainable business. There's way more things to consider. There was no rawness and honesty in how difficult it is and sharing those difficulties and sharing those learnings. It was purely kind of a showcasing event. And I feel that is not only kind of lack of progress, not going anywhere, but it's also damaging. It's kind of bringing us back to the conversation 20 years ago of like, we recognize climate change, but look at us. This is what we're doing with the solution. And it actually, if we shared problems and challenges, we'd be able to collect together and do it much faster and have more impact.
So breaking the fourth wall here. So Ella, head of storytelling, sat behind camera as well. We've got a variety of conferences we agreed to talk at next year. I mean, you've just inspired me. All I'm going to do is stand up and talk about problems and the realities of things that are broken and difficult. And it's one of the things we've really tried to do on our website. So we've got a section that's reasons to criticise us and sort of being open about the fact. So something we're looking at the moment is some of our large Scottish estates screen beautifully for wind developments. Everyone would go, well, wind is amazing, renewable energy, it's all good. That part's true. But there's a big but. We're going to damage some habitats as a result of doing that. It's a significant engineering project. Is it the greater good because we're transitioning away from fossil fuels and we're reducing the wider impact on the climate? Yes, we believe it is, but it's not without its consequences. And I think we all need to be honest about that we are all hypocrites when it comes to the climate. The fact that we consume anything, that we go anywhere, that we move is doing damage. We just hope and try that our impact is more positive than it is negative.
Totally. And I completely back you guys doing that. I think that would be really exciting and really progressive. And I know from a young people's perspective, we know what's happening. We've seen the wildfires this summer. We're living it. We're experiencing it.
We were literally talking to a potential investor and we've got a slide that's like the world's burning while there was smoke in London at the time.
Totally.
I was like, this is surreal.
And people, you just can't ignore it because it's there. Like people, whether it's their holidays being cancelled or whether it's homes being burned, it's happening. We're all aware of it. We see it. So I think when people don't address those challenges of what's going wrong, what isn't working, I think that's where it's feeding into greenwashing and it's feeding into distrust. Especially from a young audience point of view, they're so worried. I say they, being activists, change makers, young people in general, they're worried about the greenwashing connection with business. So how do we get involved with business? It could be dangerous. It could be greenwashing. We could be end up doing something bad. That then almost not approaching it. So they're working in a silo in the charitable sector.
Whereas we need business to be pushing this forward because we have the agility to, the speed to, the ability to motivate that kind of money.
Fundamentally, it's going to drive a huge amount of change. We need to address the business sector. So I think by coming out and sharing our challenges and criticising ourselves will only build trust of young people, get them into those businesses and drive wider change internally, externally. I think that's where it will break down the ability to greenwash as well, because whoever's celebrating just purely the good are hiding something.
Yeah, completely. So that takes us on to, and I'm really fascinated in your view on this, what do you think of the sort of more forceful end of the protest spectrum? I say forceful, it's not forceful, it's passive, all of it, but the more visible, the sort of just stop oil movements, where do you sit on that?
Yeah, oh God, it's such a good question because I work in the spaces with governments, with governmental organisations, governmental charities, and governmental scientific organisations. There's so many red tapes over some of the work that we do in terms of people asking us not to be too activisty, people not asking us to be too challenging, even the people who we then hire for our presenters or who we get involved. There's always such a grey area and uncomfortability around that as well. But where we sit on it is that, we absolutely see it's happening. We don't see it as forceful. I think, me personally, I don't see it as forceful. I think it is necessary. Yeah. It is driving change as well. I've been involved with Staffs Against Sewage for a number of years, and my role in this is from a creative communication outlet. So I can't necessarily relate to protests, and it's not necessarily where I feel that I'm the most impactful. But we certainly work with a lot of young people that do, and stand up there on the news, and they're interviewed and talked. They discuss why they're doing what they're doing, and it's just totally alarming that it's so easily dismissed and labelled with this big red flag of being problematic. I think if there was changes being made, it wouldn't be necessary for that to happen.
I totally agree. So I was asked, Rich, if you had to A, pick up the orange paint and sit alongside them, or B, arrest those protesting groups, which would you choose? And I thought about that long and hard, and my answer was, pass me the paint.
Yeah.
It's not how I feel I can best contribute to this. I think through Oxygen Conservation, we can help scale conservation, motivate money to do great things for the environment. But I recognise and understand the fact that I'm glad they're doing what they're doing, because someone needs to. The only thing that's ever worked is peaceful protest and actually getting people to pay attention. The fact it's uncomfortable and the fact that there's consequences of it, of course it's disruptive. It needs to be.
Yeah, and climate change is disruptive. So
yeah, what's the alternative? The end of life on Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emma, we could do this forever. Thank you so much for coming. Amazing range of topics we've covered. That's pretty much all the time we have. So just a thank you, and really excited to see what you guys do next.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.